Hey guys, I had no intention of making a video today and no intention of talking about this topic, but sometimes topics just jump in your face. It's always amazing that you go to get the simplest thing done in Japan, and sometimes if you're going to the post office or somewhere, you've got to brace yourself because you know there's going to be a lot of, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. So you brace yourself when you go to somewhere like the post office. But there's other times where you go to get something really simple done and you don't prepare yourself properly because you just think, oh, this is an easy thing, this won't be a problem, right? So I went to a home centre that I won't name to get a key cut, right? And I had noticed a big keyboard. Now, just a bit of background, about 100 years ago I had a part-time job, and in that part-time job I did lots of things. One of the things I did was I cut keys, right? And I had that part-time job for a couple of years, so I have a fair bit of experience cutting keys, not recently, but a long time ago, about 100 years ago. So I know a little bit about cutting keys, right? So I'd noticed their keyboard, I'd admired their keyboard that they have with all the blank keys on it. So I need another key for the house, right? So I've turned up here, taken my key off. Actually, I'll make sure I put it back on. I did put it back on. Took my key off the key ring and went to the counter and said, oh, I'd like to have a key cut, please. And the lady examined it like this and said, nah. Right? Yeah, some of us, in that nah video recently, there's some things that people like, can't handle, and some people think, this one, right, drives me nuts. Because it's really in your face, it's really in your face. And it's for polite people, it seems like a really rude thing too when they do this thing to you. And they do it to each other. It's not just because I'm a foreigner, they do it to each other, this thing. Can't do it, right? And it's really in your face. You can't do it, right? So I handed her the key. No, gomen nasai, muri, impossible. Because it's a copy. We can't copy a copy. We need the original key. And I said, my house is really old and the locks are really old. Who knows? I mean, the original key could have been lost 50 years ago. Who knows? And since then, any time that anybody got a copy would have been a copy of a copy, right? Oh, muri. Oh, okay, you can't copy a copy. And I said to her, look, I know, because I know from cutting keys myself, if it's a copy of a copy, and particularly if it's an old copy, it can get so different from the original that it might not work. And we used to have that problem when we used to cut keys. You cut a copy and then someone comes back and says, oh, it didn't work. And it did happen because it gets so far from the original. And I said to her, look, I know if you copy it, it might not work. That's okay, I don't care. Oh, and see, the problem is, if it's a policy, that's it. That's it, they can't do it, They've been told don't copy copies, and that's it. And I said, so what can I do? I've got a lock, I need another key, what can I do? And I said, I'll go to Karma, because that's another home centre, that's different from that one. And I said, I'll go to Karma. She said, oh, Karma don't copy copies either, right? So what do you do? So my solution's going to be, I'm going to look for one of those, now and again you see a little kagi shop, little key shop, that's all they do is copy keys, and they're locksmiths basically. So I'm going to find a little one of those that doesn't have a big company policy and go in and blackmail them not blackmail them, give them extra money to get them to copy. I imagine some small shop somewhere is not going to have an issue copying a copy. I'll just tell them, look, I know it might not work. But the point of this video is, I talked about it in that Gardaman video recently where the Gardaman was standing outside the car park holding up his thing, which is very similar to this. They do that, they hold up the little orange wand thing, like that, which is the same as this. And they don't give you an alternative. Now, we've had that car park one, we've had that a million times. You go somewhere that's busy and you see a guardman standing near the entrance, you know what's going to happen. He's going to do that or he's going to do that. And he's not going to point where there is a car park. He's just going to do that. And sometimes you go to one, we went to a place recently, and a huge car park, and they had guardaman all over the place, right? And all they were doing was each guardaman would stand there, and if his area was full, he'd just do that. And they're all doing that. Everywhere you went, they're doing this. And not one of them said, you can park over there. And it's typical. You guys would have heard a million stories like this from us over the years. You know, the post office is the other example. They specialise, everybody specialises in telling you what you can't do, and nobody gives you a solution. You know, the post office, you know, oh, muddy, you can't do this. Muddy means impossible, right? And you get that all the time. It's impossible, it's impossible, it's impossible. You know, decky no, can't do it, can't do it, can't do it. And they never say, but you could do this. You know, they must have people taking copies, because the first thing she did was to see if it was a copy. They must have people going in there all the time wanting keys cut that are copies. You know, and you think they'd have a solution. Look, you know, we can copy it, we can cut it for you, but we can't guarantee it's going to work. Or there's a key shop down the road that will copy it, or, you know, some solution, but they don't. And you get it all the time. And people that are supposed to be specialists at different things, and, you know, muddy. We had it when we renovated the house. Now and again, you know, I wanted something done that I wasn't allowed to do myself, like electrical, you know. And the electrical was a good example. When we renovated the kitchen, some of you would have seen the video, there was exposed cable all over the kitchen. And I don't like exposed cable, I think it looks terrible. So I said to the electrician, okay, when we renovate the kitchen, I want to hide all the cables in the walls. Oh, muddy, right? Can't do it. And I said, really? And now and again, when it's something that I know something about, and I'm in a position to be able to say, and in that case, I could say, in that case, there's nothing you can do. You just got to go, all right, okay, muddy, bye-bye, thank you very much. Oh, sumasen, sumasen, arigatou. Walk away. I'm very sorry, thank you very much, and walk away. But in the case of the electrician, you know, I knew a little bit about what I was talking about, again, due to previous experience. And so I said to him, look, I'll cut chases into the wall and drill holes and cut chases through the studs, and then through the mud wall there, I'll cut chases through, and then we'll put board over the top and mark them so we don't put nails in them. And oh, okay. You know, and at the same time, when we're doing the kitchen, we want to do something with the floor. And the builder stood there, and we've got this big refrigerator, right? And some of you would remember that. Huge refrigerator. It was actually, it won a design awards and all sorts of things. And it was huge, and it was dirty, but I knew it was good. It wasn't real old. It was just a bit dirty and hadn't been used for 10 years or something. So I wanted to keep the fridge because I could see it was excellent, you know? And oh, muddy. Impossible. We'll have to throw it away, do the floor, and then you can buy a new fridge, right? No, I'm not going to do that. And I said, you know, we need to move it. Oh, it's impossible. So anyway, later on I found that you could take off the little cover around the bottom, and it had this thing won design awards, right? It had a little adjustment. You could screw the adjustment, wheels would come down, you could pull it forward. And I moved this huge fridge by getting it on its wheels and just pushing it. It wasn't impossible, but you get this all the time. They're not, you know, you hear these, one of those myths that you get all the time about how innovative Japanese people are, and they're just not. It's a myth, you know? It's a myth. They're not innovative. They're not good at finding solutions to stuff. I mean, there's exceptions, right? There are exceptions. But in general day-to-day life, you know, all they know is what they've been told, or what the procedure is, you know, and they're programmed to say, no, it's not possible. And the Gardemann's programmed to say, no, you cannot enter. And that's it. And they're all programmed just to do that, and that's normal here. So nobody's finding solutions. So the staff themselves don't try to find a solution for you, and their bosses don't try to find solutions, you know, and those tradesmen at the house were the same. We were getting that all the time, the muddy thing, it's impossible, you know, and some stuff that they said was impossible, like the fridge, I just did it myself. I moved the fridge, I put down did the floor, and then I moved the fridge back again, and I did it, you know, and you get that all the time. They're just not good at finding solutions, you know, at innovating and finding a solution to the problem. And even when it's repeated, you know, like something like the key thing, how many people, you know, this is an old town, how many people do you think go into that home centre, you know, every week with a copy of a key and asking for a copy of it? How often do you think that happens? It must happen all the time, you know, but there's no solution. They have no solution. what? I said, what can I do? I said, if you copy it and it doesn't work, I don't care. No, and see, they can't. If they've been told, and you got to try to be patient with the staff because it's not their fault. You know, if they've been told you can't do it, you can't do it. They're not going to break the rules, you know, to help you, right? So if they've been told don't do it, don't do it. And I said to look, I know it might not work, and I don't care. You know, I'm willing to take the risk. You know, because usually you can file a bit. If you get one like that and it doesn't work, you can usually sort of, you know, smooth it off a bit and it will work. You know, or smooth the lock. We used to put graphite powder in locks, so that used to make them work. But you know, they don't have the solution. It's just no, and it drives you insane. It drives you insane. And when you get a small problem, all I want is the key cut. And now it's a thing, isn't it? Now it's a thing. I went to the home centre to get it done, they can't do it. The other home centre can't do it. So now it's a thing. Now I'm on a mission. Now and again I drive past a key place and I notice, because of my my part-time, I was about 17 when I had that part-time job, but I still notice, you know, locksmith shops, and I still notice, you know, keyboards in home centres and things like that, you know. But now it's become a thing. This tiny little thing that was, you know, anywhere else would be an easy thing to accomplish is now a thing. You know, the car park thing is a classic. You know, that video you saw, the people have driven up, they wanted to go in that place, the guy's gone, no, you can't come in. And there was another car park that we parked in, just up the road. And again, he did that thing to us, and then we continued up the road and we found that car park. But you know, he was sending away customers. There were people, he'd do that, they'd turn around and go, oh well, we can't get a park, we'll go somewhere else, and they left. So that every time he did that, they lost a customer. You know, and you'd think, you know, if he doesn't realise that, you'd think that the boss that employs him would realise that, or the client would be that place, that entertainment venue. You'd think the boss of that entertainment venue would say, hey, you're sending away customers, what are you doing? Send them up to the other car park. But nobody sort of has that nous. You know, every time they send away a customer that's come in with a copied key, they've lost some more business, you know, and you see it all the time, just irrational. What are you doing? You know, just irrational stuff. We showed you that restaurant recently where we've showed you lots of restaurants where they run out of food. You know, today's a public holiday, and you get a holiday like this, and you go to some place that's popular and there's lots of families there, and it'll be 11:30 in the morning, and they run out of food in their restaurant or cafe or whatever they got. And it's like, well, and every time we went to that water marine park place, and they ran out of food at like 12 o'clock or something. And the last time we went, which would have been about the same time last year, same thing happened. It was a public holiday and they ran out of food, which means, again, they're having the same problem again and again and again, and nobody is finding a solution to it. Oh, we've got that problem. So then you walk up to the counter and they just do this. We've got no food, right? The menu's on the wall. You stand there and look at the menu and decide what you want to eat, and then when you get up to the counter, they do this. No, that's sold. That's all sold out. We haven't got any of that. You can have some fried potato. It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, if it was just a one-off thing where something happened once and they couldn't do it, you wouldn't be surprised. But when you get something like that, where it happens again and again, a restaurant runs out of food every time there's a public holiday, you'd think somebody would go, hey, this is a continuing problem. We're losing business. You know, 11:30 in the morning or 12 o'clock in the morning, we're running out of food. You know, we're losing business and we've got unhappy customers. We should do something about it. But they'll do the same thing again and again and again. They'll be sending for years, they'll be sending customers away that can't get a copy for their key and not giving them a solution to it. You know, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's really bad from the customer's point of view, bad service, but unbelievable from a business point of view. You know, Gardaman standing there sending customers away. You know, go away, go away. Well, there's another car park up the road that was more, I said in the video it was half empty, it was more than half empty. You know, it was only a few cars up there. It was a huge car park, and instead of sending the customers and it wasn't far away, you saw in the video, it was pretty close, he's sending customers away. You know, the stupidity of it. You know, it's not just lack of sort of innovation or lack of, you know, the ability to find a solution, but it's pretty stupid. Sending customers away when you've got another car park there for them is just insane, isn't it? Do you see stuff like this here all the time? It really is amazing. It really is amazing. And sometimes it's just funny, you know, you see you go through a car park and every garden man standing there doing this, and it's just a laugh. Not one of them is saying there's an empty space over there. They're all just going, you can't park here, you know. And same at the post office. You walk into the post office, you'll swear nobody has ever sent something to another country. I want to send this to Australia, and they go, Eto. You know, it's like, it's a post office, you know, and you get the feeling that they've never sent something to another country before, or, you know, you go to the bank and ask for something, and you swear they've never done it before. It's like, they must do it every day. So, anyway, I mean, it's just sort of it's an interesting thing, because the image that most people have of Japanese people is that they're innovative. I hear that all the time, how innovative Japanese people are, and they're just not. You know, on a day-to-day basis, they're just not. They're not good at finding solutions. They're not good at, you know, the common sense solutions to problems. You know, it's insane when you can see, particularly when it's something that you can see, like the electrician talking about, I can't hide the cables. What are you talking about? Yeah, you can. You know, and I cut chases across the wall, and I marked where the cables were going to go, and I did the whole thing, and he came along and he did it. And then, you know what he did? Just before we did the whole room, you couldn't see one cable. It's excellent. But up one end of the kitchen was the power board, and a couple of weeks later, he came back to put a circuit breaker in for something, and it was the only time he worked that I didn't watch him. And he's just run a cable up the wall and put a circuit breaker, you know, about that far away from the meter board, and with a piece of cable, and just stapled the cable to this new wall that we had. You know, just that lack of common sense, that lack of reasoning, that lack of, I don't know, something. It drives you nuts when it's really stupid. You know, it's really stupid. He knew that I went to a lot of trouble to make sure that there was no cables on the wall in the kitchen, and we're not talking about an expense. It's not an expense. It was my labour, and all he had to do in that case was, instead of running it that far up the wall, just put it right next to the meter board, and you wouldn't have seen the cable much at all. But, you know, just the lack of common sense, the lack of innovation, the lack of problem solving skills. It's not what they do. You know, from when they're kids, they're just taught to look to the senpai, you know, look to the person above them, or look to the sensei, or look to somebody else for the solution, you know. And the people that they look to for the solution only do what is normally done. So if it's normally done that you don't copy keys here, then karma will be the same. And this is the other weird thing that you get, is that here's one that just came to mind. Businesses closing. Now, I made a video about this years ago, but it just came up again recently. We went to the electrical shop. I won't name that electrical shop. Right? Went to the electrical shop on a Wednesday, right? Because I needed a connector. Went to the electrical shop on a Wednesday, pulled up in the car park, and it's closed, right? And there was other customers coming in and seeing it was closed and turning around and driving away as well, right? So customers coming and going. And my wife was in the car, and she got on the smartphone, and she's looked up their website. Oh, they close on a Wednesday, right? And we made a video about this years ago. You know, they close every Wednesday, so that you know, instead of having, you know, they're open Monday, Saturday, and Sunday, but they close Wednesday. And lots of businesses do this. And instead of, like, again, problem solving or finding a solution, the solution is some staff have Tuesday off and some staff have Wednesday off, is the solution, right? That's what we do in another country. But in Japan, you're going to close Wednesday. So Wednesday, if you've got a problem, need to go to the electrical shop, they're closed. We went down the road to the other electrical shop, a different business, different company, and they were open. They close on a different day. You know, all the barber shops in town all close on a Tuesday. And occasionally, if there's a public holiday, they'll close on a Monday as well. But it's really random. It's really random. So you'll go to some business, or, you know, the dentist closes for lunch from 11 till 1. And then they randomly close on different days as well. You'll call up to make an appointment and there's no answer. It's just, you know, it's a lack of common sense. It's like, you don't have to close the big electrical store to give everybody a day off. Or close for lunch. The businesses are closed for lunch all the time. Instead of just leaving half the staff have lunch from, you know, at a certain time, then the other half have lunch, they close for lunch. And you'll pull up at a business site, it's closed for lunch. I'm trying to think of the example. There's a good example of that. Not the dentist, there's another one like the dentist where you turn up, you know, hey, they close for lunch. You know? And close in the middle of the week. Look at the size of that electrical store. They close every Wednesday. Why do you have to do that? You know, you think half the staff have Tuesday and Monday off, the other half, like we do in the rest of the world, you know, rotating rosters and stuff like that. But that's what they do, so that's what they do. The lack of logic, you know, things like barbershops, all the barbershops in town close on the same day. I mean, you know, in another country, there'd be someone who'd be innovative enough to go, oh, well, if they're all closed that day, I'll be open and be really busy, you know. So it's just what they do. You know, there's a bakery over there, really good bakery. It's closed, public holiday. Everybody's free, it's closed. You know, the lack of logic to that. It's a public holiday, it's really busy, everybody's free and socialising and doing stuff. The bakery would be thriving if it was open. Oh, public holiday, so they're closed. So, anyway, and usually I'll put a bit of thought into a video before I turn the camera on, put very little into this, but it's just this reoccurring thing, you know, and the first time it happens to you when you've lived in Japan for 6 months and it happens to you, it's sort of, ah ha ha, got me again, they're closed, ha ha ha, or got me again, ha ha, got me again. But after you've had this happen, you know, 6,000 times, and turned up at a business to pick up something that you really need, to find that it's closed on a Thursday or something, you know, after that's happened to you 6,000 times, it's not funny anymore. It becomes less funny. Anyway, so yeah, don't let people tell you that Japanese are innovative. You know, they copied the Toyota thing. They brought a Ford over from America. They're actually proud of this. In the Toyota museum, Toyota car museum, they actually have a little diorama, and it's of a warehouse, and it's got a Ford in the middle of the warehouse and a bunch of Japanese mechanics pulling the Ford apart to work out how it was made and reverse engineering it. And they're proud of it. It's in their Toyota museum. This is how we developed the Toyota. So we pulled a Ford apart, and they're telling you the history. We pulled a Ford apart, worked out how it was made, and then we made a Toyota. Right? They don't innovate. Swiss watches, they're really good. Just look at that. Okay, we'll make that. We'll copy that. Make it a bit smaller maybe. You know? I mean, there's exceptions. There are innovations that they've come up with, but day-to-day life in Japan, you don't see them. You know, muzakashi desu ne. It's difficult, isn't it? It's impossible. It's impossible. It's difficult. You know, very rarely have hey, how about we could do this? You don't get that. Didn't get it from the electrician, didn't get it from the key people, didn't get it from the builder, didn't get it from the carpenter, didn't get it from the plumber. We had that plumbing problem recently with the good nonsense next door. Nobody had a solution to that. That went on and on and on. You know, drives you nuts. Drives you nuts. They're the professional. You're the professional. You're the electrician. You're the plumber. You're the key cutter. You're the professional. What's the solution? Muri desu ne. Impossible. Difficult, impossible. And that's it. There's no, oh, okay, thanks, bye. You know, that's how that conversation ends with, oh, okay, it's impossible, all right. So I've still got the same problem and you don't have a solution. You know, anything breaks, same with, you know, try to get your air conditioner repaired or something like that. There's never a solution. You know, you don't even bother trying to get someone to come fix your air conditioner because they won't. They'll look at it and they go, oh, it's old. You know, it's maybe 5 years old. Oh, it's old. It's impossible. You need to buy a new one. That's what repair people say here. It's all impossible. Oh, it's impossible. Oh, muddy. You know, got to buy a new one. It's old. Got to buy a new one. That's the solution. Get a new one. Just useless. They told me that about a fax machine about 8 years ago. I took my fax machine to that place and they did the same thing. Oh, it's old, muddy, it's impossible. It was about 4 years old. It's impossible. I went home, there was a little roller in the back of it that wasn't grabbing the paper, so I rubbed it with sandpaper and made it roughed it up with sandpaper, and it's 8 years later, it's still working fine. Oh, it wasn't fax machine, it was a printer. Not Moody, that's what drives you nuts. If it really is something that's impossible, fair enough, right? That can't be helped. But what drives you really nuts is when you know it's not impossible. You can copy the copy of a key. It might not work, but you can do it. It's not Moody, it's not impossible. You know, you can run cables through the wall and not see them. It is possible. You know, all those things are possible. It was possible to fix the printer. You know, all these things that they tell you are not possible and really difficult and everything else, and usually they're not. You know, it's not possible to park, not impossible to park your car. You can go up the street a little bit and park it quite easily. It's not impossible. So, anyway, this is what it's like living in Japan. Stuff like this is why a lot of foreign people don't last here, because it drives them nuts and they go home. My Aussie friend that lives in Toyota says all the time, they're mad, mate. They're mad. Right, they're mad. They're mad, mate. Meaning crazy, of course. Anyway. Shogunai, they say. It can't be helped. It won't change. It's not going to change. It's just the way it is. So this is really a heads up. Live in Japan. This is what it's like. Anyway, that was that. I got to go and find a key shop somewhere. More videos coming soon.